Good morning and welcome back to another video. So I just wrapped up my first official week of my base building block. So it's summer here in New Zealand and I've just finished recovering from my second half marathon, and now I've moved into my base building block. So I thought I'd take you through everything that I know and everything that I've learned over the last couple of years on how to build a base and how I'm going to go about building my base so I get fitter and hopefully faster for my next events, my next marathon, half marathon, and hopefully ultra marathon next year. So yeah, let's chat about it. Building a base is the foundation to your training, setting the stage for you to then build upon as you go into your preps for your races. So I'm 2 years into running, and whilst that might seem like a long time for some of you who are just starting, in the grand scheme of things for runners, that's actually not a very long time. So I'm going to be spending my summer building my base. Even if you're just starting out though, you should be building a base. It might look a little different than mine, but then also my base building block might look a lot different than an elite runner's. So everyone should be doing it, especially during the off season or during the summer when there's not as many races or you have a long period of time between races, and also work on your weak areas. And that's why it will be a lot different if you're just starting out, because your weak areas are going to be different than mine, and my weak areas are going to be different than elite athletes. But it will help you get to that first race without any injury. That's something that I wish I did before entering in my first race, and I actually got injured for and never ended up completing because I had no base, and then I just went into training for this half marathon, which wasn't the best idea. So definitely recommend, no matter what stage you're at, to build a base and work on your weaknesses when you do have a period of time off in between races or before signing up for your first race. So I've put together 3 main things that I'm going to be working on over my base building block this summer, with the first one being weekly mileage. Now, because I'm still relatively new into the running game, I still need to work on my aerobic base, on my aerobic engine. So I'm going to get a lot of stimulus from running a lot of easy miles, so building my weekly mileage up. So that's going to be my main focus throughout the summer, is just accumulating a whole bunch of easy miles, consistent time on feet, just slow progress from week to week, building up the mileage. Some weeks I might stay at the same amount of Ks if I'm feeling like I want to get used to that for a little bit, and then bump it up from there. Been up to 100 Ks before twice, so I'm going to bring it back up to there. I'll get to about 80 Ks at the end of the next week, and then 100 from there, and I might sit there for a little bit, see how the body feels, and then build it up from there. I do want to bring that mileage up quite a bit above that. When I did my most recent half marathon training block, I did hit 100 Ks a week, and that was with some speed work. Actually, one of the 100K weeks was with three speed sessions in there, so definitely think I'll be able to handle 100 Ks with a lot less speed, which I'll talk about in a second. The goal of building as much mileage and getting the body used to running that amount of mileage in the week, but then also getting the aerobic adaptations from running a lot and running a lot of easy Ks. So that's going to provide a lot of stimulus for me, hopefully set the stage for my next training block and help me with that. And also something to think about when you build your mileage, when you go into a training block, you'll be able to absorb that training better. When you're doing more speed work, you're doing higher mileage, it's not going to be so hard on your tendons and your muscles, so you'll hopefully be able to absorb that training block and then go into the race faster. So the second thing I'll be working on is neuromuscular adaptation, so just adapting to running faster and faster paces, my coordination, feeling smoother at those faster paces. So I'm going to be doing that by adding in some short intervals and tempos, and then also some hill sprints as well, and then a little bit of light plyometrics at the gym, basically just to get the body used to running at higher speeds, but then also not overdoing it, because my biggest goal is just weekly mileage. So yeah, keeping the body used to running fast and hopefully get better at running fast, but then not putting a huge focus on it, because I'm already going to be getting a lot of stimulus from running easy. I don't have certain paces, but more efforts for those runs. And then some of my tempos and my intervals, I won't be quite working into threshold, maybe just staying just below threshold in some of those runs. So that's what I'm going to be doing for my speed work. Not much and not the priority, but still important for me to do. And once again, getting my body ready and primed for when I go into the training block, which there'll be a lot more speed in. And the third thing will be dialing in things like my food, my strength training, and my recovery. So with food, I'm going to be, playing around with and practicing different foods that I can eat and different things that I can consume on my runs. Maybe eating a little bit more carbohydrates throughout the runs than I would normally to see if my body can handle it, or trying out different gels, and just really a time to practice, but then refine what I can do throughout the training blocks and also maybe on race day as well. So yeah, really making sure that my food that way is good, and then also making sure that I am getting enough macronutrients throughout the day, eating enough calories, especially carbs and protein, making sure that I'm recovering from the runs, but then fueling for my next one too, because obviously with the increase in mileage, I'm going to be expending a lot more energy. So I want to make sure that I'm not in a calorie deficit at the moment, and I'm continuing to build and I'm able to recover and absorb the training that I'm doing and hopefully get better and faster. So that's what I'm doing with my food at the moment, and I'll be playing around with it a little bit, but then also dialing it in for race day. So in terms of strength training, I'll be doing 2 upper body sessions like normal, and then 2 lower body sessions, and at least the first lower body session will be main compound movements like squats, RDLs, Bulgarian split squats or lunges, hamstring curls, and then some adductor exercises as well, so some isolation exercises, but mainly big stable movements that I can work on progressing and getting stronger with throughout the summer. Basically, so I'm building strength and helping to be a nice strong runner, but then also helping with injury prevention, so I'm strong enough to handle the loads that my body will be under. And then my second training session of the week will be a couple of compound movements, like maybe a hip thrust to start off with, and then still keeping those RDLs in there, but they might just be a single leg RDL instead of your conventional RDL, so getting some stability in there as well, but then also working on single leg strength. So for example, this week I did single leg hip thrusts, single leg RDLs, single leg calf raises, bent and straight leg, single leg hamstring curls, and some tib ant exercises to finish off with. So a lot more single leg work in that second session to obviously replicate running, and then you're able to make sure both sides are the same strength, and then also obviously a little bit of coordination, a little bit of plyometrics in there as well, which will just help with my running efficiency and my biomechanics when I'm running. So yeah, nothing too crazy, not super complicated, and just going to be working at progressing most of my lifts throughout the block. And as those Ks get up really high, if I'm starting to be sore here and there, I can pull back, maybe one heavier session, then one lighter session, working on more mobility and coordination plyometrics. So for recovery, I'll just be making sure, obviously I'm eating enough, but then sleeping enough as well. That's when your body's going to be recovering from all the training that you're doing. So I'll be making sure that I get anywhere hopefully from 8 to 9 hours sleep. Obviously some nights you can't do that and you can't control it, or the cats or kittens will keep me up, but for the most part I'll be trying to get plenty of sleep, and then some naps during the day as well if I have time. So those are the 3 main things that I've been working on. With this being said, I've made plenty of mistakes over the years, so I'm going to quickly run you through all the mistakes I've made, so hopefully you don't have to make them as well. So first one being ramping up mileage too quick. So this is something that I feel like most people do, and I was definitely one of those people. And it is really easy to do because you've got this new exciting thing, you're starting running, you might have entered an event and you know that you need to run more, and so you're out there running and you want to run more often, every day maybe, and it's just too much too quickly. Your body can't handle that rapid increase in load. It's not used to running every day or running every so often, and start to notice little niggles come up, and then that's when you have to listen to your body and have a rest for a few days and take a little bit more of a conservative approach. So don't increase that mileage so quickly. A good rule of thumb is to increase by 5 or 10% each week. So if you're running 10Ks in a week, it's only 1K increase each week, which isn't much when you're first starting out, and you've got to take your time. Little niggles can come out of nowhere and it can be building in the background, and then all of a sudden you can't run anymore because your knee's sore or something like that. So yeah, that's a big mistake that I made, but I managed to get around that now by just increasing maybe 5 to 10%. You will get to know your body, and sometimes I just stay at the same amount of Ks for a couple of weeks to get myself used to it, to make sure that any little niggles aren't coming up in the background, I don't notice them, and then I'll increase from there. Or a good rule of thumb is I'll do 4 weeks increasing and then 1 week deload, which is maybe 60% of my volume the week before, and then back to 4 weeks building and so on. And that's generally what I do in my training blocks, and that's generally what I'll be doing throughout this training block. So 4 weeks on, deload week, 4 weeks on. And those 4 weeks, I will not always going to be increasing. I will at the start. And at the start of this training block, you'll see that I will increase a little bit faster than 10%, but that's because I've done this much mileage in a week, so I know my body can handle it, and all my tendons and ligaments will be able to handle it. But I will be listening to my body at the same time. So if I get to 100 Ks, even though I've been there before, I might be feeling it a lot more. So either I'll do a deload week or I'll stay at 100 Ks before I move up above that, because a 10% increase from 100 Ks is obviously 10 Ks. So there'll be 110 Ks the next week after that. So I've just got to be careful and make sure that I'm listening to my body and being smart with my training, because yes, it might be good I can get out for a run tomorrow, but if I run tomorrow and it puts me out for a couple of weeks, 6 weeks, then I'm going to lose all that fitness that I've built. So it's better to be smart now and bring it back now, but be consistent over a longer period of time than go out hard now and just get a run done for the sake of it and then not be able to be consistent over a long period of time. All right, so next mistake, and another one that I think lots of people do, but I especially did this way too often, which was running every run way too fast. So all my runs were almost like a tempo run. I would just go out and run the same 5-8 Ks, and I would just run it hard and fast, and I'd get to the end of the run and I'd be exhausted, and then I'd try to do it again tomorrow. And your body just can't handle that amount of intensity day after day. You can do it once a week, maybe twice a week, depending on your level, but you're not going to be able to repeat that time and time again. So you won't be able to run as often, and then you won't be able to keep it consistent, and also an injury might come up way quicker than if you were to just run every run a lot easier. So yeah, that's something to watch out for. I like to wear a heart rate monitor and just monitor my pace based off my heart rate. So if my heart rate's a little bit high, then I'll bring it down a little bit. And there is some calculations you can do online to get your zones, whilst zones aren't everything and they're not super rigid things, but it's just a guideline where you can know the intensity of your run. Say I'm going out today, I want it to be zone 1, zone 2, easy-ish. Most of my easy runs aren't based off pace, they're just based off heart rate and my perceived effort of the run. So if it's a little bit hotter, I'll be running slower. If it's cooler, I'll be running a little bit faster, but just generally at a conversational pace, nice and easy. And pretty much all of my runs are done at that pace. So definitely when you're starting out, run nice and slow. And I know it's hard sometimes, and I know especially if you're posting to social media, you can get caught up in your paces, but don't worry about it, because you will be able to be faster on race day if you're able to run more consistently and more often. And you're also building a lot of aerobic fitness when you're running at those easy paces. It just takes a lot of time. Endurance takes a long time to build. And something that I learned throughout my marathon and half marathon training block this year is not to chase exact paces. Obviously there's a time and a place, but I think I was so rigid with hitting my half marathon and marathon pace throughout my training that sometimes it meant that I didn't finish that interval or the tempo because I wasn't able to hold that exact pace. Whereas it would have been better if I were to just treat it as a little bit more of a range, say 4:15 to 4:25 per K, rather than just 4:15 per K every K and I have to hit it, and if I don't, then it's all over kind of thing. I guess that's something that I would have learned maybe a little bit quicker if I had a coach, but I don't, and I'm figuring this stuff out as I go. And yeah, I'll be definitely, when I do my speed work, looking at it a bit more of a range, because every day I'm going to feel a little bit different. Some is going to be a little bit faster, and then some will be a little bit slower, but that's how I'm treating that. So I'm not going to chase perfection and just chase consistency and showing up every day and finishing the run, even if it's not at the fastest pace I can. With any training block, and definitely over the summer, I'll have to really make sure that I chuck my ego away and make sure my easy runs are easy, my hard runs are at the right paces to how I'm feeling on the day, pushing myself still, but then not overdoing it, and making sure that I'm recovering from the workouts that I'm doing. So yeah, no ego, hopefully, not worrying about what my Strava says or anything like that, and just doing everything I can to become better. So I thought I'd wrap up the video talking specifically about my 3-month running plan. I haven't written it out, but maybe I can do it if enough people watch this. So starting with weekly, I'll be running 6 days a week. Some of those days will be double days, most likely just 2 double days at the moment. So it'll be like a easy run in the morning and then easy run later that day. And then on top of that, like I said earlier, I'll be doing 2 upper body sessions and 2 lower body strength sessions. And with my weekly mileage, I don't have a limit on it at the moment, but at least up over 100 Ks, maybe get to 120, 130, just see how the body feels at those higher Ks, because I do want to push that volume a little bit, because that's where I'm going to be in my next training block. So I really need to get those Ks up while they're nice and easy, get my body used to being able to handle that amount of volume. So that's not set, but definitely going to get quite a decent amount above 100 Ks. So looking forward to that. And like I said before, they'll be just going 5 to 10% each week. Throughout the week, I'll do 1 speed run, and it will be either short intervals, short hill intervals, or tempos that are not quite getting into threshold, so a little bit of an easier tempo than what I would do throughout my marathon training block. But other than that, I believe that a lot of my endurance will still come from my mileage, my weekly mileage. So I'm not putting a huge emphasis on speed throughout the summer, and hopefully I can still get a good aerobic stimulus and get fitter from weekly mileage increase. So if you want the plan, just let me know. But the main thing is to just stay consistent, run pretty much every day, and run my easy runs easy, focus on that, do some speed work here and there, but not overdoing it. Hopefully this summer will set me a good base for me to work towards some of the goals that I have in 2026. Thank you for watching.